And we are live. Welcome on your TV sets in Texas and Louisiana. We're on the Smart Money Culture TV network, as well as streaming around the world on X, LinkedIn, YouTube, and the rest. We have an exciting show today lined up. We have a big day overall, I guess, really in the world, right? You got Trump. Trump is at the Bronx rally. He's going to do his Bronx rally today. It's pretty interesting. I was, here in the district. It's kind of funny because Trump is very known for his bodastic tweets and his ability to say things that will make his people, his staff, wince at times. And the whole thing in New York has kept him in New York, and it has kept him really kind of on task there, which is kind of an interesting situation. And then as well, New York is by anybody's standards or thought not in play, right? This is not in play, but here we are. He's in New York. If you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere, right? And so why not campaign? Of course, you're going to campaign. You're in New York, you campaign. That's what you do. Running for president, you're in New York, you campaign. So the Bronx rally today is going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see what kind of what happens, what kind of traction he gets there. We will see, right? We're going to see what happens. The Bronx rally today, I think is really cool. Markets continue to be a bit mixed. We have a continued retracement on gold. We have a continued retracement on silver. Fairly interesting, actually. And I don't know. I was watching a little bit of the. I have the charting, Market Watch part of the show. We recorded with Matt, but I'm going to show you right over here. Gold futures. So I don't know what if we charted gold and silver, but continued retrace, as you can see right here on gold. We're under 2,400. It had spiked up there right around 25. So anyway, still up, guys. This is what I've been saying. Okay, now this is the 1 month. Look at that, 1 month. 1 month. Yeah. So, wow, look at these numbers. All right, so up 18% on the 6 month. On the year, 19%. This is gold here. Let me put up now, guys. Remember, you can get gold, silver, palladium, platinum at cost. Put my banner up here at cost at cost metals. So you go to atcostmetals.com and you put in your clubs. Okay, and you can join the club and you can get gold, silver, palladium, platinum at cost. Now, this is green on the day. On the other charts, on the day, it's down about 1%. Silver has been on an absolute tear. Silver is up over 50% since we started talking about it on the show. It was below $20, now up over $30. It did shoot quite up, but down 2%, over 2% today, which this is a lot for gold or silver. Now you see it's still up over 3% on the 5-day chart here. So quite an impulsive move this week. And you can see here, so popping around here, 25% it's showing on the 6 month, 30% on the year. So pretty impressive moves there. A lot of people are scared of crypto. I get it. If you're scared of crypto is a new asset class, though. It's not going anywhere. And right now it is moving impulsively. It's moving impulsively up. So I would encourage you to not be scared of it. And, don't think it's the boogeyman or something like that, because you might miss out on a very, very large transfer of wealth. I'll be at Consensus next week, and we're going to do our gala and everything there. But, I started at this. It was $70 per Bitcoin. And right now it is $70,000 almost per Bitcoin. 69,700 as the ticker says on my screen right here. $69,700. It started at $70, okay? And that's like 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago. So this asset class, it's not going away. The governments of the world tried to stop it. They tried to stop it. They couldn't stop it. And then they just went all in on it, really. And they haven't even gone all in on it yet, but they started buying it. You have the ETFs and everything like that. So pretty interesting. We have as well, we're going to have my friend Ken Hurley on the show in a little bit. Ken is with Genius AI. Genius AI is enabling impact investing. They want to make an impact. They are helping us with the Washington Elite Gala as well. That is going to be pretty interesting. But yeah, gold, silver, Retrace stocks are now. This could be interesting because we could be in for an up day today. The charts are, and actually we're going to look at that a bit more. We'll dig into the charts. But Dow futures is up a little bit. Dow futures moving up about 36 points. That a lot of times does indicate that we are going to have an up day on the markets. The Asian markets, though, are, it's mixed. It's mixed today. Things are mixed. Asian markets, Hong Kong Stock Exchange down about 1.5%. Oil was down as I started, and then it shot up about 0.5%. Still under $80, $78.15. Now there is talk about Biden. He's releasing some more oil from the strategic oil reserves, and that's supposed to have an effect on the price. That's why he's doing it. So maybe that is having a bit of an effect, although it's up slightly today. So I'll tell you, there's some interesting things. I mean, number one, of course, we talk about Trump taking New York. Do you think Trump can take New York? There's a lot of talk that we have about this country, right? And how things are going. Let me just put up before I get in here. Learn how to trade. Consensus, guys. Remember, Consensus is next week. You're gonna want to come. Get your ticket. Get your hotel. Consensus2024.coindesk.com. Use referral code Bruce. Gives you 15% off, even on the Piranha Press, even on the big dog pass. 15% off. I believe that is exclusive to us. That is exclusive to us. We've sold some tickets for Consensus. We are very happy about that. Happy to be involved. We will be broadcasting live as well. Texas is our home. Where we're on TV there, so we will be pretty happy. Of course, I'm here in Washington, D.C., but as well, we have our gala, and the gala is shaping up to be very, very important gala. We have some very important people coming, as well as big money people and wonderful people. It's always a lot of fun and a very exclusive event. So make sure to join us. You can sign up for that. lu.ma/Washington Elite Gala. That's lu.ma/Washington Elite Gala. You can join it. You can sign up, and we go through and we approve who we can to come, or you can guarantee yourself a spot and get a ticket. It's for a good cause. Some of the stuff that we do, I'm just going to play. I haven't really shown this. I probably should show it more, but since I'm flying solo today, let me just do that. So let me share my screen right here. So this is some of the stuff that we've done over the years. We have helped disabled veterans, as well as other disabled autistic kids, blind people, these types of things. And this is from one of the events that we did. This is we're playing here on the Olympic ice. This is some of the pictures that the first picture was. The second picture somewhere else. And then
we are live.
Yeah,
there you go.
In
Day 2 of
Lake
helping
Placid,
visually
New York.
impaired veterans. Today it's Veterans Day, and we're going bobsledding. How are you feeling, man? Are you excited? And there we go.
So that was me there doing a live stream with my phone there at the end of it. But that is the proceeds go to our disabled sporting initiatives. It's been a lot of fun over the years. We've done some amazing events. So that is that's going to continue. It's really important, and as well, we attract a great crowd there. So make sure if you're coming to Austin, come to our gala. Get involved, okay? And there's your code for consensus, Bruce. So we're going to hop into the markets here in just a second. Now, when we talk about Trump, right? When we talk about Trump and the election, it is crazy, right? They're just throwing everything in the book at him. I have consistently said over the time, and I still actually do think that this is true. I think that the chances of Trump winning are very high. But I think that the play is that they are going to make sure he can't do anything. I mean, that's it. I mean, if the Senate is Democrat, or the House is Democrat, or both are Democrat, and Trump is elected president, he still can't do anything. He really needs a House and a Senate in order to do stuff. Actually, the truth is that he doesn't. The truth is that he doesn't, right? But that's how they like to package things. If you doubt whether the truth is that he doesn't or not, you can just look at Biden and how he is paying off. He's using the central bank to pay off all the student debts, and then the central bank is going to tax you from inflation in order to pay that. So the whole forgiven thing is just that's just cover for the real story. They're just minting up the money. Everybody's getting paid. No, nobody's forgiving. Everybody's getting paid. They're just taxing you for it, and that is the truth. That's how it works. So anyway, he doesn't have to really do. There's a lot of things that he can do, but I think he plays within the confines of the system that he's in. That's what I've witnessed with him, with Trump. And I think that if he doesn't have the House and Senate, not much is getting done. And remember, it's kind of a uniparty anyway, so it doesn't really matter kind of who gets in. But I do think that even with the magic electronic voting machines and the millions and millions and millions of mail-in ballots, that really, I mean, if somebody else had an election like this, we would be yelling and screaming and saying this, in another country. But whatever. I still think that he'll probably win. But the play is that he won't be able to do anything, unfortunately. I hope that's not right, and I hope that we can really change some things. But there's also, there's just the reality of the situation that we have here. I mean, we have 20-something million people that have entered the country illegally, according to Tucker Carlson. And when you take that number and you look at it, and then you talk to people, and they say, "Oh no, we're gonna deport those people." And guys, we don't have they're not going to deport these millions. So it's probably 50 million people that have entered illegally over the past decade. And that will change a country. We're only 300 and something million people. So that's a lot of people. It's a lot of people. And we're not really, you know what I mean? As much as you may want to deport all of these people, and I may or may not want to deport all these people, I don't see that the political will is there to do it. And that's what I always tell people on the show, that we need to work together. We got to work together. Okay, because the reality of the situation is this. And in my older age, I look more at the reality. What is the reality of the situation? And the reality of the situation is that the people here, the people that are here. And that's why they keep bringing them, because they know once they're here, it's all over. They're here. Okay. And so we need to figure out how to work with these people. We need to figure out how to close the border. We need to, it's a mess. It's a mess. Anyway, let's not dive into that too much. Let's get the Market Watch segment. Matt has done a great job. He recorded this for us today. He had a meeting, but and he's talking about Elliott Wave, which is one of our favorite ways to chart different assets, and how we are able to predict a lot of the different things that happen. Let me just drop it right here. Okay. And I'm going to switch my shared screen. This is Matt Dixon, the great Matt Dixon. This is a recorded segment, but it's just recorded a few hours ago. And we are here.
Good morning, Bruce, and good morning to all the Impact Money community. Pleasure to be with you again today. Unfortunately, it's not live. This is recorded. Got to attend to some meetings downtown today, unfortunately, but it's been not so much movement in the past day or two. Obviously, we had the massive breakout with Ethereum and a lot of tokens that followed. But we're going to take a look at the shorter term outlook today, run through a few of the tokens, and we'll start, of course, with Bitcoin, the big one still for the time being. And we've gone through this many times, but I want to go into a little bit more detail today on the Elliott wave analysis that I rely on quite a lot. So the different forms of analysis that I use, I obviously watch the fundamental news which comes out, and this can be political, geopolitical, it can be data points like inflation news coming out, etc. So at the moment, the actual inflation news and data points are relatively quiet out of the US. There's not an awful lot over the next couple of weeks. The next one is in about, it's almost 2 weeks' time now, is PCE, which is the Fed's preferred measure of inflation. So we'll watch that one eagerly to see what the reading comes out at, and this will definitely give the Fed some sort of bias towards whether they're going to lower interest rates earlier or later and what's going to happen there. So we will watch for that. But for the time being, data is relatively quiet. So we're just relying on news like yesterday, as I said, and the day before, Ethereum absolutely pumped because of the news, potential news that we would get an Ethereum spot ETF sooner rather than later. And as I discussed yesterday, there are some challenges to that, not least that I don't think the SEC can basically remain credible and yet take such a 180-degree turn on policy so quickly. And there's all sorts of challenges with making an Ethereum ETF. And then even a discussion over whether it will be attractive to people, because there won't be staking involved. You won't be able to get the staking returns. So you'd actually be at a disadvantage if you bought your Ethereum via the ETF route. So there's definitely lots of challenges there from all sorts of different directions. But as I say, short term, we'll look at Elliott wave. This was a system devised by Ralph Nelson Elliott in the 1930s. And he basically observed that the markets tend to move up in cycles of 5 waves and move down in corrections of 3 waves. 3-wave is the most simple correction, but even those 3 waves can have alternatives. So you can have what's called a flat correction, which is 3 waves down, 3 waves up, then 5 down. Or you can have a zigzag correction, which is 5 waves down, 3 waves up, then 5 down. So they're the 2 types of basic corrections. And then you can get triangles, you can get double and triple corrections. There's all sorts of corrective possibilities. But the impulsive moves are the ones that the traders really want to get on. So what we do is we watch out for impulses, because if we can get in at the beginning of an impulse, then we can catch the big rise in the market. And so we look at the corrections, because once a correction is apparently or near completion, then that is the time to jump in, ready to get the actual big gains in the market, because the big impulsive moves are those 5-wave moves. And the most impulsive of those 5 waves is normally the 3rd wave. Then the next most probable would be the 5th wave. And lastly, the extended wave could be the 1st wave. So it can be either wave 1, 3, or 5, but it's almost always wave 3 is the extended, in other words, the biggest, most powerful wave. And that's the one that traders really want to get into. So they will look for a bottom in the market, for example. They'll look for a wave 1 up, which itself will be in 5 waves, because Elliott wave is fractal in nature, a little bit like Russian dolls I mentioned before, waves within waves within waves. So wave 1 itself will be made of 5 waves. Then we get a 3-wave pullback in wave 2. Wave 2 is not allowed to be a triangle. So there's various rules that actually help us to determine which wave we're traversing at the time. And so we get a wave 2 back, and that's when we'd want to jump in. So this would be potentially from this C wave here. You can see I've got labeled as 2 or B, smaller C wave there. We can see a small wave 1 up, a wave 2 down. Then you can see the impulsive wave 3. The impulsive wave 3 is probably all the way up to here, right up there. So you can see there the comparison between wave 1, wave 2, and wave 3. This is why we want to identify a corrective wave 2 to jump in to get the big gains in wave 3. We were already alert to it because the previous wave structure was potentially a triangle or a WXY, which is a corrective move in itself. So we were alerted to it. So we actually were jumping in around these sort of areas. So potential for massive gains there, as long as you can recognize these corrective waves. And so I do think it's well worth people looking into. There's lots and lots of books about Elliott wave analysis. Now, they don't tell you precisely what the future is going to be, but they give you the basic structure of the market and a structure on which you can build your risk reward for your trades. And so there are no certainties in trading, there are only probabilities. But if you understand the probabilities well, and you have a structure to effectively hang your risk reward, then you can profit from the markets consistently as a professional does. And professionals, one of the things they do, which is different to many retail traders, is they actually are able to take losses. They're actually comfortable taking losses because taking losses is a normal part of everyday trading. You have to take losses. And if you're completely averse to losses, it means you'll be hanging on to trades which could go into much greater losses. And then your risk reward is absolutely thrown out of the window. So that's why it's important to recognize that you have to take losses. So just looking at this from the bottom here, showing the fractal nature again. So in blue, we have wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. And the third wave there itself is also made up with these red waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So each impulsive wave up is also itself made of 5 waves. And then we got a wave 4 down. And then the 5th wave will itself, if you went on to a much shorter time frame, you would see this is also made up of 5 waves. So every impulsive move is made up of 5 waves. And the corrective move, as we can see here, A, B, C, it's in 3 waves, reasonably clearly. And you cannot count this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because wave 4 is not allowed to overlap wave 1. That's why you cannot count this as an impulsive move down. So again, just knowing a little bit about the rules for Elliott wave will help you determine whether you're in an impulsive move to the upside or a corrective move to the downside. And what I would say is when you're looking at an impulsive wave 3, it has to be a minimum of 1.618. So when I say that, this is a Fibonacci measurement, and the Fibonacci system is basically, it's very, very predictive, and the markets, in fact, so many things in nature actually align with these Fibonacci relationships. 0.618 is what's known as the golden ratio, the perfect ratio. There's many different names for it, but it's very, very predictive for turning points. So wave 3 would be at least 1.618 times wave 1. So we've got wave 1 here, wave 2. In fact, I'll just measure it just to check, and we can see ourselves whether that's correct. So I measure the wave 1, which is from the bottom here to the top of this one. I can then transpose that to the beginning of wave 2, and we can already see that if this is a wave 3 here, we've exceeded that 1.618. We spiked above it, and then ABC down for the next wave. And then we're looking at a 1, 2, 3, probably 4 and 5 up to finish the next cycle. So this, again, I think we need to open it out a bit here just to see where we're at with the wave count. But again, you can see when you've got 5 waves here, that is an impulsive move. And so we can now look for the correction that we have here as an ABC correction. Now, this is interesting, and I'll go on a shorter time frame, on a 1 hour time frame here, so that we can actually see the breakdown of, from a recent local high we had, we just spiked the other day to about 72,000 on Bitcoin. And then from there, we could potentially, it looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how it looks. But the reason it's not is because I measured wave 1, I transposed to wave 2, and we can see that wave 3 here didn't match the 1.618. The 1.618 is down here. So that means here didn't quite reach 1.618. And I always look for a minimum extension for wave 3 of 1.618 times wave 1. So that tells me the wave 3 is not over here. And if we looked on a shorter time frame, I can assure you we'd actually see that we've got 5 waves between here and here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, giving us wave 3 down here, and then wave 4 up, Now we can again see we've followed the rules perfectly. Wave 4 does not overlap the territory of wave 1, so we're within the rules. And then we've got a fifth wave down here. And I'm proposing at the moment that this is actually an A wave down. We're working now on a B wave higher, and we should get a further C wave down on Bitcoin. So what that's telling us is that this is an overall slightly larger corrective move. The correction is probably not complete as yet. And so we'll see some more choppiness, maybe a little bit of short-term upside on Bitcoin, but then some further downside towards the 67 area. And then from there, we would expect to rally to new all-time highs for Bitcoin. So a little bit of patience required at the moment. And as I say, there's not much in the way of drivers in the market. There's no particular geopolitical news on the, at the moment that's happening, with Israel, with Russia, Ukraine, Taiwan, whatever. There's no particular news out, and there's no particular economic news on the, coming up at the moment. As I say, the next most important one is going to be PCE, which is the preferred measure of inflation for the Fed. So that is going to be important, and that will be a market mover if it doesn't meet expectations. So they're watching out very, very carefully to see if we exceed or don't quite match the PCE expectation, because that will move the markets, because the markets are heavily driven by inflation expectations. And this is actually a sign of the maturity of cryptocurrency. It was very much an emerging asset class. It probably still is an emerging asset class because we're only just beginning to see regulated products, for example, the Bitcoin ETF. But it is maturing fast. And as a maturing risk asset, it tends to respond very, very sensitively to economic news, and particularly interest rate expectations, because that determines how much money is sloshing around in the economy and how much money is available to invest into these risk assets. Now, the early days of Bitcoin and crypto were very, very different. They were driven purely by speculation and very little by economic news. And that's changing as the asset matures. And it's less and less to do with speculation and more to do with economic news, although it is obviously still a speculative asset and a volatile asset. So we need to bear that in mind. But bearing in mind it's a maturing asset and it has limited supply, as we've talked so much on this show, then we need to recognize that it will take on more and more of the characteristics of a safe haven asset, more and more like digital gold. So that's why we keep an eye on the SPX, which it's highly correlated to. That's the S&P 500. But also we do keep an eye now on gold, because Bitcoin has been seen more and more as a safe haven. So, for example, we had a minor banking crisis last year. Stocks fell, but Bitcoin actually rose and stayed very, very robust. The prices stayed robust during that time. And so we can see that Bitcoin is gradually acquiring this safe haven status and becoming seen more and more as digital gold. Now, in fact, I predicted this probably now getting on 3 years ago on CNBC on a channel there, saying what the expectations were for Bitcoin. And as a maturing asset, I said it's going to have all its ups and downs as a risk asset, but it will take on more and more of that safe haven status. So when the market does correct, and it's got to correct one day, I'm sure Bitcoin will fall with it. But I think as a safe haven, it will probably rise more quickly than a lot of other assets following a substantial fall. So that's Bitcoin. That's the expectation there. As I say, I think we're going to continue the correction for the time being. Probably not the best time to jump in to any fresh positions. But also, at the moment, it's still looking impulsive to the upside. So even though we might see a bit more downside, I actually think the upside is beckoning. So if I was in a position at this point in time, I'd probably hold and wait for higher prices. We'll take a little look at Ethereum, because Ethereum is actually very, very similar in structure to Bitcoin here. We obviously had this very, very sharp rise, very, very typical of a wave 3 impulse, as we can see here. We had the wave 2 down, and that's the one that all traders will look for. They'll follow from the earlier wave, the wave 1 up. They'll look, and I'll just move that along. They'll look We had also an overhead resistance here. Once we broke that, we knew we were really into wave 3 territory. So you can see a bit of choppiness all the way until we broke through that overhead resistance. And once that happened, we really got into full wave 3 impulsive, powerful wave movement. And so we can see that here with the massive green candles, as I say, so indicative of a wave 3. And that itself is broken down here. We can clearly see wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and wave 5. So the third wave itself is also made up of 5 waves. And a little bit like Bitcoin, I think that we're actually now in the midst of a correction. And we can see that if I just compress the chart a little bit, we can see that we've probably completed wave 3, because wave 3 is that impulsive, powerful wave. We've got the correction here. We've got 3 waves down. I think we've got 3 waves up. So we can now expect a further slight correction toward the downside. But again, I don't think it's going to be too bad. I don't think it'll be much of a correction. In fact, wave 4s are normally relatively shallow in nature. And so you wouldn't expect much of a pullback, but somewhat of a pullback now in Ethereum to give maybe an opportunity to enter to DCA, possibly at slightly lower levels than we're at the moment. So if you're one of those in the camp that the Ethereum ETF is going to get approval, then you'll be looking for entry points in the market. And this wave 4 will give you exactly that. Opportunities to DCA, just depending on how deep this wave 4 goes. But we know that wave 4 cannot overlap the territory of wave 1. So we can be confident that is where you place your risk, the top of wave 1. So you can see there's a big gap there because that wave 3 was powerful. But that is where you have to place your risk. And that's why that will help you determine your risk reward on this particular trade. So again, you can sort of see the thinking behind how to place your trades, where to place your trades. So following that wave 4, we should get a wave 5 impulse. And it's quite feasible that we could actually rally to new all-time highs. And I think we're quite away from that on Ethereum. We're actually quite a long way from it. It's about 4,800. The previous all-time high. And we looked at a longer term chart, so I won't go back into that again now, but I think it's perfectly feasible that we will. So the next, and again, looking at that fractal nature, we can see we're about to complete the wave 4, wave 5 in red, but that is only wave 3 in blue. So in the larger scheme of things, that will complete the 3rd wave. Then we should get a 4th wave back again. And that normally takes you into the territory of the previous wave 4 of lesser degree. So assuming we're going to retrace to about that level, and then we should get a powerful wave 5 to the upside, which should, as I say, could quite likely to take us to new all-time highs. And whilst I say wave 3 is the powerful wave, in fact, with cryptocurrencies, we often see wave 5 as the most powerful wave, which is different to normal conventional equities, for example, and stocks that you'll be trading. They tend to see wave 3. So we still see within crypto wave 3 is a powerful wave, and normally at least 1.618 times wave 1. But wave 5 is often the really powerful wave, and it gives you what you call the blow off top in the price. And that so often happens with crypto, a highly volatile asset. You do see blow off top. So it would not surprise me in the slightest to see us push there to new all-time highs on Ethereum, and we'll have those. I'm sure we'll have a good entry point for that. So I'll just flip through very quickly through the other currencies because I know Bruce has got a lot on for today's show, and there's a lot to talk about consensus coming up at the end of the month. So that'll be very exciting to look forward to. So I'll take a look at Solana because I think Solana is again in corrective mode at the moment, very like Bitcoin. We can see here clearly corrective. Probably 3 waves. It could even be 5 waves down, but it could be a 5-3-5. If you remember, I said corrections can be 5-3-5 or they can be 3-3-5. This looks like 5 waves down here, 3 waves up here. So I think a little bit lower to come for Solana before again we push. I'm sure we're gonna, I say I'm sure. Obviously, we can't give advice. There's no certainty, just probabilities. But the probabilities are strongly in favor with the next impulsive move that will actually overtake the previous local high of 209. And we should certainly push towards challenging that all-time high of about 258 on Solana. Gold is seeing a little bit of downside at the moment. And that's probably telling us that the recent news we've had on inflation is relatively dovish, that inflation expectations are down. We've seen GDP down. In fact, we do have GDP coming out in a matter of days, I think, maybe about a week. So the next GDP estimate for the US probably going to continue to slow. And we've seen slowing in the last 2 quarters. So that means likely we're going to see inflation expectations beginning to diminish. And this will give the Fed the ammunition they need, or the reasons they need to be able to reduce interest rates later this year. And I still fully expect we will see those interest rate reductions, which is going to be positive crypto and should push us to new all-time highs for crypto. But for the time being, with inflation expectations being down, I think we've seen a 3-wave correction down. I think this is actually a 3-wave correction higher. And the reason I say that, if you try to count this from C here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 7 waves is actually what's known as a corrective count. So 5 waves will be impulsive, 7 waves are corrective. So as we have 3 waves down here, we have 7 waves high, that's also corrective. So we would expect there to be further downside for gold, but this is all a bigger corrective move. So we would then expect to move impulsively to a new all-time high for gold. But short term, I'm expecting further downside for gold. So I do think that we're going to see inflation expectations diminishing over coming weeks, and that will give reason for gold to slightly fall away. We're seeing oil again has actually corrected reasonably sharply. We bounced once again off that support. So, I mean, there's a couple of pressures, I suppose, on oil. There's obviously the geopolitical pressure, which is diminishing at the moment, and also we're seeing economic. Economy is slowing, basically beginning to show signs of slowing. So that would mean that there's going to be less oil used for industry, for business, for transportation, etc., etc. So that means that the demand side of oil is down, but we've got supply and demand characteristics here. So, supply is based on obviously how much they do supply, but also on whether there's any geopolitical issues that will limit the supply. So there's that sort of balance there that we need to take into account. And I think finally, there's 2 charts I'd just like to touch on. We'll just look again at the DXY, which is dollar index. This is all important. We actually look as though we're going to get lower reasonably soon, because we've got what seems to be a corrective move to the upside. So we've actually had corrective on a bigger scale, ABC to the upside. We've got corrective down. I still think we're going to get more corrective slightly up. And then I think because this is in the larger scale corrective to the upside, we actually still have quite a bit lower probably to go on dollar index. And that is what's going to fuel the rally in equities, in crypto and other risk assets. So because this is all corrective here, I still think we're going to see more downside on the dollar. And again, that points towards a diminishing inflation and a slowing economy. And so we'll see weaker dollar because of it. But this is actually really good risk asset. It means there's more reason. If the dollar's weaker, interest rates are coming down, people don't want to be investing in bonds which are fixed interest. They want to invest in something which is going to give them a better return. And that's why they'll be looking to crypto and why money will flow into crypto. And why we're seeing, once again, new all-time highs on the S&P 500. So this is actually really positive news. And as I say, yesterday, the divergence has been eliminated. That actually opens up the upside to the S&P 500. And we've had labeled on this chart for many, many weeks now, potential new high of 5379. That will be the next target. That will be the next resistance. If we break through that, once again, it opens the way higher. So at the moment, things are looking generally bullish across the markets. And I suppose just finally, if we flip through the meme coins, Bonk, Doge, Book of Memes is virtually flat, Shiba, they're all reasonably positive at the moment. And I keep saying last one, but I want to search GameStop again. It's that meme stock, basically, that stock that has nothing whatsoever behind it. And people have just invested in a very speculative way, and it's pumped the price. You can see the massive volatility there to the upside. massive gaps in the market, and that's actually where circuit breakers came into force in the market. Because it's a stock, they have circuit breakers when there's excessive movement, and that's what happened, why you get these price gaps here. But we can see the volatility there. It's not one that I'm comfortable getting involved with, because it actually has no foundation whatsoever. It's purely there just for speculation. And then INJ, Injective, is that AI token, which again is showing some positive. Most of them are showing positive today, and they seem to take it in turns. You get BMB tends to grind away gradually positive, and then you get the more speculative ones like ICP, which generally, when the market moves, you see more movement. Same with SOL, bigger movement. And XRP is actually still very much in corrective mode. I'm hoping we see a breakout sometime soon. It's been a bit boring, but that's often happens with XRP. That doesn't move for ages, and then it suddenly rockets away. So never bet against XRP. But remember, it should only be a small part of your portfolio if you're trading crypto. Anyway, that's a wrap for today. Hope it's been interesting and informative, and look forward to catching up with you tomorrow. Thanks.
Never bet against XRP, says the great Matt Dixon. That is pretty good advice, I have to say. That's one of those coins when if you've been trading long enough, you have held a big bag of that, and it wasn't doing anything, and it wasn't doing anything, and it wasn't doing anything, and then you just were like, all right, the heck with it, and you sold it, and just at that point, you're like, oh gosh. So good advice there, or good report from Matt Dixon, the great Matt Dixon. I have next a very exciting interview with Ken Hurley. Ken Hurley is a great guy. We met in, or actually we communicated a little bit online, and then as we were started to do things, really started working more closely together. You're going to see a lot more of him at Consensus. He is involved in the Washington Elite Gala. We're really happy to have him here, and we had a great interview. Let me just pull that up right here, and here it is, the great Ken Hurley. And we are back here on the Impact Money Show. What a fun event, a fun show this has been. I have with me here the great Kenneth Hurley. Ken is he is the founder and CEO of Genius AI, a great company, a great guy. We've had a fun time getting to know each other. Let me bring him on right here. Ken, how are you doing?
I am doing great. Thanks. I appreciate you bringing me onto the show, Bruce.
Amazing. Well, I'll tell you, it's been one of those things. So I initially reached out to Ken maybe over a month ago, before Paris Blockchain Week, as I saw that the coin was listed on CoinMarketCap. So I usually keep an eye on the new coins that are coming up. I thought it was a very interesting project. We went not much back and forth, and then I followed up. We are both partners and sponsors at Consensus. This is shaping up to be a really important event. Tell me a little bit, Ken, about Genius AI and what brought you to this point.
Yeah, so in 2016, I actually was looking at why the blockchain was using GPUs, because I have a background in graphics processing units or GPUs from working at NVIDIA for 4 years and being in the gaming industry. And so I kind of tore apart what proof of work was and realized pretty quickly that it could be used for artificial intelligence. And so I set out to kind of make artificial intelligence decentralized and democratized so that everybody could get paid out for using their GPUs to do AI processing. And I know that's kind of the narrative these days, but that's kind of how I started this project. I was like, I kind of wanted to reduce the cost of AI for projects like folding at home, which was curing cancer and things like that. And so I basically architected a system back in 2016 and then filed a patent in 2019 and got patented in 2022, patent approved. And so it really was basically my goal to kind of use AI for the good of humanity back since 2016. And I've been working on this since then, because there's a whole infrastructure more than just a blockchain. And so there's a lot of work that's gone on over the last 8 years. And my gaming experience and the ability to write games in C++ kind of helped me architect this and produce the product. So that's kind of how I started this.
Well, that is really interesting. So now, back in the day, when we were doing mining and this and that and the other, I used to think that mining was, using these computers and we were doing something good for humanity or sharing or this and that and the other, but we weren't. Right now, is that something that you guys are doing?
Yeah. Actually, that was kind of the thing. There was a narrative that back then that mining was just wasting electricity. It wasn't really wasting electricity, but it wasn't doing anything good for humanity. What it was doing was basically securing the network, securing the Ethereum network. And of course, there's ASIC miners that really just only secure the network, and there's no ability to leverage those on Bitcoin. But on Ethereum, the GPUs can be used for multiple things, including rendering or AI processing and things like that. So I kind of said, well, let's build something that's like real world proof of work, that had real world applications like doing AI. That way, we can actually say, hey, we're doing something good for humanity, even though it's still doing the blockchain security part of it. We're also doing AI on the blockchain at the same time, or on the proof of work systems at the same time, to really do something good for humanity. So my project brought that into being, basically, for like you said, to actually have a real world good use for the blockchain and the proof of work stuff.
So I want to talk a little bit more about that, but before we get into that, as a guy that's been in the space for a long time and was fumbling through C++ myself a decade ago, that is interesting. Tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so I started out in the 80s doing video games, started out in assembly language and Pascal. Pascal wasn't used for video games, but assembly language mainly was. Started out on 6502 and Apple I, Apple II time frame, and then kind of graduated into 8086 on the IBM PC. And then I saw C. C++ I don't even know that was around yet, or maybe it was just in its early formation stage, but C was around. And so I learned C because it seemed the Atari ST and the 68000 wanted to have you use C to write stuff. And I kind of said, oh, well, I'll get up to speed on it. And then I saw C++, and I kind of fell in love with C++ because I think a lot in object-oriented manners and compartmentalizing stuff. And so I kind of taught myself all this stuff, because back, in the 80s, there was really, they were teaching Fortran at the time. They weren't teaching these assembly languages in C++. So I was kind of on the forefront of that. And I was able to, I'm an autodidact, a self-learner. And so I taught myself, and then 20 years later, I went back and got my computer science degree and challenged all the courses, because I basically had taught myself C++. So that's kind of how I started out, and did a bunch of games. I have probably 20 games on my resume. A lot of those in the early days were basically as a programmer. I did Rampage for the PC, the IBM PC, and the Amiga.
Oh, wow.
And the Apple II. So sole programmer on that. It was all me, 100% assembly language through the different, different computers on the Amiga and the Apple II, and the IBM PC had different controllers or CPUs on them. And so I wrote some different assembly languages in 68000, 8086, and 6502, basically.
Wow. Well, it's always great to know that the person, really behind the company can also roll up his sleeves and dig into really what's going on. So I want to loop back a little bit. I know we have a lot to talk about in a short amount of time, but I do want to loop back into, just to take it out of the box for the viewers, of, okay, so I have a GPU, or I'm hooking up my computer or something to the Genius AI platform, and I'm helping to, it's not secure the network, or is it to secure the network? What exactly is happening that you're using the computing power for in the artificial intelligence realm?
Well, so it's beyond artificial intelligence. Its main goal is artificial intelligence, but it's really a compute infrastructure. And today they call that DPIN, a decentralized physical infrastructure network. That was coined like about a year ago. But we've been working on that since 2016. And in general, it basically takes models, AI models, and then runs the data through the AI model, and then spits out your machine learning or your artificial intelligence back to you, either putting it somewhere, storage somewhere. And so it basically pays out the people that were leveraging their GPUs based on the AI processing, or it could be rendering for that matter, because it's all accessing the graphics processing unit. So there's never really there's all kinds of uses beyond AI, but AI is the big one right now.
Well, it is really interesting. I'll tell you what, I use AI every day now, and I can tell you with my kids as well. My 14-year-old, not as much as my 9-year-old. It's funny how everything progresses so fast, right? So my 9-year-old she gets on. She always wants to use my computer. I got to buy her a new computer, her own computer, because I have a star. I have a star right now beside my my thing. But she's really great. She's great at using the AI, and she's got a voice to do, and she uses both Google and then ChatGPT. I tried to introduce her to Grok, but Grok is not quite really. ChatGPT is a lot easier to use. But this AI it's so powerful. It's powering everything. The future is it's exciting, but it's also scary.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely scary, and the large language models are especially scary because it allows you to basically have a partner or a kind of helper, really. But I mean, I don't really think it's too scary personally. I've been in this space, and of course, it's a hammer can be scary, right? A hammer is a tool, and you can use it for good or you can use it for bad. And same thing with just about everything. And so AI is scary. If people want to use it for bad, they can, and it's kind of easy to do. But in general, it's just a tool for us, and so we're focusing on using the tool for the good of humanity and to solve real world problems. But the stuff that your daughter's using are kind of one really tiny slice of AI. I mean, they're large language models that basically pull in a bunch of words and a word salad, and then unfold it for you and analyze what you need to give you a response. And it's not always correct. I mean, I've ran into that several times. I wrote an article on LinkedIn about it not being correct. And so you kind of have to know what you're doing. It's a helper, and it's a good helper, and I use it quite a bit, but it can lead you down the wrong path sometimes.
Well, there's no doubt about that. And one day, if I think a lot of these AI programs have built they built models of us. I know Grok and I on X have had quite a few conversations. I've had to set Grok straight a few times. Well, I'm really looking forward to learning more and using it. I know you're speaking on stage at Consensus, as well as there's this impact portion of it. Let's talk about that in a minute. But talk about your presentations or your panels, and what you're doing at Consensus.
Yeah, so we have a booth there. I think it's 841 is the booth number. And two of the talks that we're doing is basically on AI, but I came from the game industry, as I discussed earlier. And so one of the other thing is Web3 gaming. And we've kind of modified or really enhanced our AI to actually execute while you're playing a game. And so it's kind of this unique proposition, because I came from the game industry, that you can actually play a game, and at the same time we'll do AI processing in the background, and so you'll get paid while you're playing the game. So we kind of made this monetization channel for game developers, where they no longer have to put ads in their game or anything like that, but they can just use our system, and then they can pay out the player and themselves for that AI processing for the use of that GPU. It kind of fits another narrative that's kind of in crypto, and that's RWA, real world assets, because we're tokenizing the GPU resources and the electricity of the GPU and the just the GPU itself. into a real world asset, tokenizing that, and then paying out for the usage of those assets, basically.
That is amazing. So you've been working at it for a number of years now. This consensus event, I'm telling you, this has turned out to be I think it's the most important event. You know, it's the timing of everything as well. I was just having coffee with somebody this morning, and you know, they're working for somebody who's on the short list to be VP for Trump. And you know, everybody, all eyes are on crypto. They're talking to me because, of course, I'm probably the first guy that they ever knew that was in crypto, right, in this area. But all eyes are on us right now, and it's AI and crypto. So it's very timely. It's very timely what you're doing. Talk to me a little bit about. I know one of the things that we discussed over our time, and you know, you're involved now with the Washington Elite Gala. Thank you very much for that. That enables us to do a lot of wonderful things for disabled, visually impaired, autistic kids. Disabled sporting events is kind of our deal. Talk to me a little bit about the impact investing and the impact that Genius AI has.
Yeah, so what we figured out is, you know, it can help game developers, but it can also help just pretty much any kind of application out there. So if you have a video streaming app, we can operate in the background while you're watching videos. But we came to realize that a lot of the impact investors out there want to make an impact in the world, and our kind of platform does that several different ways. One, it pays out everybody around the world for use of their GPU, and you know, people in Africa have phones that can work on the system, and people, you know, in very poor countries, we're working on something with the Philippines right now for an internet service provider and all their set-top boxes that have GPUs in them. And so there's some pretty poor countries and you know, poor cultures that can basically leverage this technology. On top of it, you know, if you think about it, you can basically create a impact in a very vertical market. Like, let's pick energy, for instance, and say somebody wants to have an impact on energy. Well, you know, you can basically use the AI to analyze energy usage across different platforms and then pay that AI processing payments out to the people that are using your electricity. So you can have an impact in any kind of vertical you can think of, just long as there's some need for AI in that particular vertical. And so it kind of all rolls together, and we provide kind of this GPU cloud infrastructure for everybody to utilize at a you know, 1,000th the cost. So it really enables any kind of impact investor that wants to have an impact in anything, you know, hunger, food, because you can, health for that matter. If you had you know, if you have somebody playing a game and they're earning tokens during the game, they can turn around and use those tokens for health right from their phone. And that's the beauty of blockchain integrated with AI and the impact that we can have across the world in different verticals. So it kind of turned into this. I never thought about this, you know, 8 years ago when I started this, right? It just happened that people are like, hey, could you use it for this? And I'm like, yeah. And then they start talking to me, what about the AI part of it? Can we use it for this? I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. And so I kind of realized just how easy it is to integrate impact kind of investing into our ecosystem pretty quickly, because we focused on the AI part of it. And so you can utilize that to have an impact in all kinds of different areas.
Amazing. Now, do you know the timing of your panels or talks at the moment?
I don't. There's two of them, in one on Web3 and one on AI. And it's not, I don't know if it's a panel. I think it's a secondary talk that I have during consensus during the day. But we also have the Washington Gala, of course, on the 30th with you. And then we have an after side event on the 29th from 6 to midnight. There's an after party, but we're talking about the Web3 stuff too. And we're the sponsors of that project also, or that after event. And so we'll be talking there to give people information about all this and kind of talk about how this can have an impact on the world, but good for impact investors too.
Well, and this is what consensus is. It does, right? You're going to have access to a lot of people. You're going to have access to people, including Ken Hurley here with this project. I'm super impressed by the project, as well as Ken's family man, and all these things that you would expect from somebody in his position. And it takes time to put these things together. What is your main goal? What makes consensus a success for you?
Well, we want to show off the technology, so it's very, very close to testnet, and so we're going to do a demo at Consensus showing like a game playing, and then some other person analyzing a picture, basically to analyze like where it's kind of an analysis, face analysis system, or joint analysis actually, and we'll be running that and then showing that like while you're playing the game, you're doing part of the work, and then this other node is just sitting there showing the pictures that are being analyzed. And so that's kind of for our booth. We have a booth there, 841 again, and then that kind of allows us to show off that the technology works and is very capable of being what I really call a dynamic DPIN, because most of the other DPINs that are out there, the decentralized physical infrastructure networks, you have to have a node at home, this high-end GPU static node. And we're completely decentralized, and we run on every platform. Coming from my game industry experience, I used to write games for every platform. So this is cross-platform. It works on iOS, it works on Android, it works on Windows, it works on Mac, and it works on Linux, and it will work on IoT devices. And so that's why we can have an impact in so many different areas, because we work on every single device out there. We have a deal with the Philippines company called NextLogic that's basically using their set-top boxes that they have where they're streaming video, and they're going to be using Genius to basically pay out all the users of the internet service provider. And he has hundreds of thousands of users, so we have hundreds of thousands of nodes in our network already.
Wow.
That will launch when we launch. So it's pretty big.
That's huge. I mean, and just to for the lay people out there, if you have 100,000 nodes, that makes your network very, very strong. And if your network is very, very strong, then that means that people's investment, for lack of a better word, it is an investment, but we're trying to use other things, is their what they have in there, their assets are very strong as well. Well, hats off to you, Ken. It has been an absolute pleasure. I just did a quick search. It's Genius, and they do GNUS. You can see right there, Genius, but GNUS.ai is the website. GNUS AI on X. They're easy to find. Ken's easy to talk to. Thanks so much, Ken.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll see you soon.
Sounds good.
Okay, well, there you have it, guys. Another great show this morning. Thanks for everyone who helped out and came on. It is an absolute pleasure. We'll be back on your TVs in 5 hours. Make sure, guys, to get your tickets for Consensus. Use referral code Bruce. Get your tickets for Consensus. Put it right here. Referral code Bruce. And if you want to join us at the gala, get your tickets for the gala. We're doing great things as well. Super excited about all that. Have a good one, guys.
Your voice is powerful. When combined with social engagement, it's a force for change. Decentralized media paired with free speech is the catalyst for an empowered world and a unified, invaluable ecosystem. Join Global Boost, become a champion of free speech, and help to reshape the future of media.